My name is Lorraine, and I am 72 years old. I live alone in the small wooden cottage my late husband William built with his own hands more than 40 years ago, tucked away in the quiet hills of Vermont. The wood creaks when the wind blows, and the windows rattle when the storms pass, but this house is more than just shelter. It is memory, it is history, it is my heart. When William died 11 years ago, cancer took him too quickly for me to grasp what was happening. One moment he was beside me, repairing the fence in the autumn sunlight, and the next, he was shrinking before my eyes in a hospital bed. After he passed, the silence inside these walls became unbearable. Every object reminded me of him. His boots by the door, the books stacked on his nightstand, the unfinished woodworking project in the shed. I tried to carry on, to keep the rhythms of our life alive, but grief has a way of reshaping even the simplest daily rituals. For years I withdrew. My children worried, my friends urged me to come out, but I stayed cocooned inside my solitude. I stopped painting, though it had once been my passion. I stopped traveling, though William and I had dreamed of seeing the world together. I told myself it was enough to remember. I convinced myself that stillness was survival. But survival is not the same as living. One evening, during a summer storm, the power went out. The house fell into complete darkness except for the dim orange glow of a candle I had lit on the kitchen table. I remember I was wearing nothing. Not because I had intended it, but because I had taken off my damp clothes after rushing inside from the rain. I sat wrapped only in the quiet, in the soft shadows, in the weight of my own skin and age. For the first time in years, I felt exposed, not to anyone else, but to myself. It was as if the walls I had built to keep the world out had crumbled, leaving me face to face with the woman I had become. That was the night I felt something shift. The silence was no longer suffocating but awakening. I thought of William and what he would say if he saw me hiding like this, letting life slip by in a blur of routine and sorrow. He would tell me to stand up, to take the brush back in my hand, to open the door and breathe the world again. So I did. The next morning, I found my old paints in the attic. The brushes were stiff, the canvas dusty, but the moment I laid down that first stroke of blue, I felt a pulse of life return. It was clumsy, hesitant, but real. Day after day, I painted again. Landscapes of Vermont fields, the silhouette of William's face from memory, the soft glow of morning light on the cottage walls. I also began to reconnect with my children. For years I had only called when necessary, keeping conversations short, always insisting I was fine. But now I began to share small pieces of my days, little victories, even my struggles. To my surprise, they welcomed it. They came to visit more often, sat in the kitchen with me over tea, asked questions about my youth that I had never answered before. And slowly, I reached beyond my family too. I found the courage to contact an old friend, Margaret, whom I had not spoken to in decades. We had parted ways long ago, each swallowed by the demands of work and family, but when I heard her voice on the phone, it was as if time folded in on itself. We spoke for hours. We laughed, we cried, we promised not to lose each other again. It astonishes me how one night, one moment of being stripped of everything familiar, could open the door to all of this. I realized that grief had not ended my story, it had only paused it. I had been waiting for permission to live again, when all along that permission had been mine to grant. Today, when I walk into my studio and see the rows of finished canvases stacked against the walls, I feel William with me, not in sorrow, but in strength. I take long walks in the fields behind the house, where wildflowers grow in careless abundance. I write letters again. I even joined a small community art group, where women my age share stories of resilience, of heartbreak, of rediscovery. And every time I sit before a blank canvas, I remember that evening. The night when I wasn't wearing anything, when I sat alone in the quiet storm, and realized that what I had been missing all along was not him, but me. Life at 72 is not the end of a story. It is simply another chapter. And I have finally chosen to write mine.